simple yet so profound question at the same time. Does it matter, you might ask, if I believe in God? Wait a moment, you might say, to follow that up. Does God even exist? Maybe you have found yourself asking these questions. And if so, that is a great thought process to consider. Does God even exist?
We'll be looking at 5 different proofs to obtain the answer from logic and scriptures that indeed God does exist. The first thought process is considering very simple face value design demands a design.
So this idea of design demands a design is a very important concept that we can actually see in our everyday life. In studies of theology and even religion, this thought process, this idea is known as the teleological argument for the existence of God. This idea, however, can be seen in something as simple as a painting. If you have ever looked at a painting, usually an artist will sign their name or some sort of initial or symbol in a corner or on the back of it, signifying that they are the designer or the creator of whatever image it happens to be.
Similarly, God has given evidence of his design. There's a children's song that speaks about fingerprints of God are everywhere. Let us consider this. Now, the concept of design demands a designer and how it relates to God.
Absolutely, and we will begin with 3 different thought processes. The first one to consider is that design is seen in life in many forms. If you were to take, for example, the concept of something as simple as a football game, on average, there are about 120 to 150 different plays that are run in a game. But have you ever stopped to consider the intricacies of the design of even a single football play? There are, for instance, 11 players who each have a job to fulfill, to create one ultimate design of one particular play. Even something as insignificant in the grand scheme of things as a football play is full of design. You cannot get away from it.
What about the world? God created it. Consider the promise of design God has given us, for since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even as eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. That's Romans 1:20. So we know that design is there. Design is giving and is evident in the world.
Yeah, even going back to the writings of Psalms, design is spoken of. In Psalm 19, verse 1, we read, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork." We can see design there even from those writings. That is the first of those thought processes to consider. The second one, we'll begin to consider thought process number 2.
Another area of design that we should consider is the concept of the human body. The human body is a wonderful example of God's design and creation. The scriptures are not silent on this point. Consider what the psalmist said in multiple occasions.
Yes, absolutely. Good point to make there in the book of Psalms. Psalm 139, verse 14 says, "I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well."
The design of the details of the human body and how it proved God in areas such as eye, skin, DNA, the brain, and many other studies all show a common theme, design. If we cannot even, we can't come close to making a human body. If it was an accident, logically, the point is intelligent design is there.
Absolutely. It's certainly not an accident as well. So we've seen those couple of different thought processes, how design is there, even in the human body. What about a third one? Design must have a designer. If only we appreciated design more in our lives. If you were to stop and think about where we would be without design, the images, the scenarios, the different applications of that thought process that would come to mind are simply terrifying.
What if someone did not design your house? What if those construction workers, the carpenters, the electricians, the masons, etc., had no design? What would be the result? The answer is not hard, complete chaos and failure.
Absolutely. And is this the case with God? We find what Hebrews chapter 3 verse 4 says, for every house is built by someone, but he who built all things is God. So we see if God designed our world and our universe, our life, design is there. You're to consider the role of even the planets, for instance, how they stay exactly the same. They only remain in one place because of design. Without it, the results would be, frankly, terrible.
They would, actually. What about the seasons? God put them in place. Genesis 8:22 says, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. This cycle proves God's design. It supports life. Without his intelligent design, we would not be able to survive.
Absolutely, and I think that's a very good point to make there. I would like to focus on that for a second. God there in Genesis chapter 8, what you just read, we can see how design is there in the seasons. And that was just after he had destroyed the world. He created, even though through destruction, he created design at the end of it. So we think about design and how important it is. And you think about the different things we've looked at, even so briefly, design demands a design. This is a logical concept that is really proven by much evidence. Just a little bit of it, even we've considered. Consider, in closing, just a very simple syllogism. It is set up as this. If the universe manifests purposeful design, then the universe must have a design. We can agree, hopefully, based on evidence, that is the case. The universe does, in fact, manifest purposeful design. Therefore, a conclusion that we can come to is that the universe must have a design.
I have decided.